Orion of the New Gods gets humbled real quick because for some reason, to avoid a war between Darkseid's forces and Allfather's forces, the gods from New Genesis and Apocalypse swapped their sons. So Mr. Miracle is clearly the biological son of Highfather, while Orion is the biological son of Darkseid. That is why Homeboy is so aggressive. There is a demon in him. And in this episode, we're going to see that demon come out and get humbled real quick. Please do not forget to subscribe, share, and like videos on my channel. I appreciate it. So we pick up our story with the boom tube being opened in the middle of the sanctuary, created by Poison Ivy and the rest of the heroes. The heroes got ready to fight because oftentimes the person that opens a boom tube unannounced is usually Darkseid. And as they know, Darkseid was taken by the anti-life equation, so they got ready for combat, only to be surprised to find out it was John Constantine coming through the portal with Detective Chimp and Mr. Miracle. But he was surprised. Why were they ready to attack them? Only for Batman to let him know that it wasn't wise to come here with the boom tube. The only person on Earth that should have boom tube tech was Cyborg. But Constantine was pissed off. It is a boom tube. It makes a loud boom, so I get the fact that everyone is on edge. But anyways, the goal was achieved. They got here. Now it was time to tell everyone the plan, because the plan was a stupid one, but it just might work. The goal was to get the Mobius chair, the all-knowing chair with every information in the universe, and put Cyborg on it. So, using the minds of Detective Chimp, Batman, and James Gordon, they devised a plan to lure Metron, telling him they had some tech he could not live without. Because for some reason, Metron has always wanted to know the future, and this orb was stolen from Madame Xanadu. She was a fortune teller in the DC universe, but John Constantine stole her orb, and now they were going to use it as an offering to Metron to attract him. So now the plan was set. All they had to do was get Cyborg to New Genesis, but Cyborg was pacing zero. He may not be accepted, so Superman said he was going to come along because everyone in the known universe loves Superman. But he wasn't going alone. He wanted all his flyers, and that means all of them, including Black Canary. So he went out to get her, and Mary came along, only to find Black Canary in the rain, sad, depressed, lonely, because she has lost the love of her life. But there was hope. Superman was alive. If you watch my first video, you know she stabbed him by mistake. So she was honestly just depressed. She thought she had killed Earth's last hope. But thankfully he was alive. She embraced him on sight. After assuring her that he was okay, he let her know that they need her on this mission, but she wasn't going to leave her husband to chance. This is when Mary came and made her know that for sure Dr. Fate was going to keep her husband safe. Until they get back, he was the master of magic. So she decided to come along, and they set off to New Genesis, where the last hope for mankind remained. Knowing they may not succeed, goodbyes were said. Damian had to tell the love of his life to keep herself safe, which he honestly didn't need to. She was Wonder Woman now. She was strong, but he was his father's son. He was good with the ladies. He shared a kiss for a long time, and everyone noticed that they were taking a lot of time. But yes, they set off to New Genesis, only to get there and be instantly interrupted by this prick they call Light Ray. For those of you who don't know, Light Ray is a prick. He's a sexist, obnoxious prick that thinks he's better than everyone and his God's gift to humanity or whatever, but he's really not. He could just fly fast. That's his only ability. But nobody has time for him. They brush him off because the real threat was Orion, the security head for New Genesis. And instantly, as soon as he saw Cyborg, he laid hands on Mr. Miracle, telling him to stand. And Mr. Miracle always stood back up because he was not the type to give up. But Superman was not content in watching his friend get his ass beat. And we all know Batman's theory on Jonathan Kent. He is supposed to be, or rather he has the potential to be stronger than his father. And right now we see because Superman punched Orion so hard he was knocked out. Orion is a literal god. Do you know how hard it is to knock out a god? Well, Superman did it in one punch. A spectacular punch. And that punch was so strong, it summoned Highfather, and he apologized for Orion's actions. He looked to his biological son, Mr. Miracle, and asked him while he was here. And Mr. Miracle let him know the plan. But getting Metron here was complicated. He only pursues knowledge. But like I said, they had an offering for Metron, so there was a reason for him to come here. But Highfather had other things he wanted to talk to Mr. Miracle about, because after Big Barda's death, he dropped his son off here, and this is no place to raise a child, especially because you're trying to keep your son away from you, because you're scared to love him. Mr. Miracle was scared to be a father, because he didn't know how to be one himself. His only male authority he had was Darkseid. But Highfather let him know that leaving him in Darkseid's hand was the biggest mistake of his life, wanting him not to make this same mistake, that he is here and he can raise his son. He should raise his son rather than allow the new gods to raise him. You don't want your son to turn out like Light Ray, God forbid. But right now there was a world to save. They needed Metron, and Highfather called him, and Orion stood ready. Everyone stood ready, because no matter what, Metron was still a god. And when he came ready. Seeing the orb, Mr. Miracle's hand, he reached for it. He wanted it. He wanted to know his destiny. But just before he could touch it, he was shackled with the construct. The heroes attacked because they were getting this throne one way or another. But Metron was still a freaking god. He tossed Green Lantern to the skies, punched Mr. Miracle through a freaking planet or an asteroid. He was that strong. And when he was done, he just sat on his seat and left. In such speed, only Superman could catch up to him. And Superman decided no more action. Let's just talk. We need your throne to save the world. But he didn't care about the world. Thankfully, Mary came along and she made it clear that after Earth is overrun, the whole universe is next. And he was a man of logic, so he understood. And he gave up his throne, telling them, you could have just said that rather than fighting me. And you, turning to Mr. Miracle, give me that orb. I need to know the future. He got off the Mobius chair, allowing Cyborg to connect, which I think is a bad idea, but hey, what do I know? Thankfully, the Mobius chair did have the answer. We find out that the cure is Cyborg's blood, and the only thing they had to do now was recode it, and they had a cure. But back with Metron, he was looking into his future, and he saw something that scared a god. Instantly, he disappeared, and the heroes, knowing this guy was so smart, decided to leave as well. But seconds after they did, we see what they were running from. What Death was the only one that was capable of seeing, because they had stumbled upon a graveyard they should never have been in. A monster was slumbering. Darkseid was awake. Instantly, Highfather knew that his brother was awake, but different, calling to his son. He was too late, because Darkseid lives, and he brings death.